A warm welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najma Luima, but first are the headlines. Speaker Oulanyah puts queries about his whereabouts to rest with grand return. Vice President Alupo hails Museveni for naming women in key cabinet positions. And in sports, 3 Ugandan officials appointed for 2021 as Sekafa Kagame Cup tourney. A warm welcome once again. Now the news in detail. The Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, has blasted some MPs who are recently asking for his whereabouts after months' absence, saying they are hypocrites. Earlier this month, a section of legislators tasked the Deputy Speaker, Anita Among, to explain to Parliament about the whereabouts of the Speaker. We have more. On Thursday, Jacob Oulanyah made a grand return to the August House and attended the orientation workshop for the opposition MPs organized by the Leader of Opposition in Parliament, Mathias Mpuuga. Oulanyah said, accusing some legislators of hypocrisy, that some of the MPs had made it a habit to demand for his presence, yet for 1.5 years, when he never chaired or even appeared in Parliament, they didn't raise it. He said that while he was away, instead of praying for the sick, some people were wishing them dead. The Speaker said that the best thing ought to have been holding prayers for the sick and not laughing at their anguishes. Oulanyah's comments come on against the backdrop of several reports that indicated that he was critically ill and that he had flown out of the country. Whereas the Director of Communications at Parliament indicated that Oulanyah had taken time off to rest after a hectic period since the 2021 election campaigns. Several reports indicated that the critically ill Oulanyah, who had been flown to the UK for treatment, had been transferred to Dubai for more treatment. The Speaker's return to Parliament will now put to rest the reports about his whereabouts and sickness. Vice President Jessica Alupo has hailed President Museveni for naming women in key positions in his new cabinet for the next 5 years. In his new cabinet, Museveni appointed 36 female ministers from the previous 27. Nalugo has more.
Coming to the appointees, if I start with the Vice President, Jessica Alupo, first of all, she's a hard worker, and she listens to my advice.
Speaking on Thursday ahead of today's Pan-African Women's Day celebrations, Alupo said that Uganda has made big strides in championing women empowerment and was quick to hail President Museveni for leading this crusade. In the new cabinet, women took the top positions, with 4 of the top 5 having women, including Jessica Alupo, Vice President, Robina Nabanja, Prime Minister, Rebecca Kadaga, First Deputy Premier, and Lukia Nakadama as Third Deputy Premier. According to the Vice President, Uganda will continue championing women's human rights in national legal and policy frameworks, as well as development and implementation of special programs for women. Africa will today celebrate Pan-African Women's Day in an event to be attended by selected individuals at Kololo Independence Grounds due to COVID-19 rules and regulations. President Museveni is expected to be the chief guest.
Moving on, a joint security team of police and the military has dispersed traders who had vowed to start working today despite the existing lockdown measures. Police said that the act was contravention of the presidential directives on COVID-19 and urged the public to remain calm. The traders had vowed to start working before the president announces himself on what is next. A joint security team, however, was deployed heavily to disperse them from downtown. Police in a statement has said that the public should wait for President Museveni's address and follow the range of options that he will provide. Police said that lifting the lockdown restrictions without a proper plan is dangerous and warned the public to remain cautious. A statement from police added that they were all aware the pandemic has not disappeared and therefore need to remain conscious and not lose out on the individual and collective gains they have all made in keeping themselves and everyone else safe. President Museveni is expected to address the country at 8 p.m. on Friday evening and guide on the next steps following the end of the 42 days lockdown he announced on June 18th. Let's take a very quick short break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. At Global Education Summit in London, a call has been made on governments, businesses and philanthropists to invest in the future of children. The summit being co-hosted by the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and his Kenyan counterpart Uhuru Kenyatta is aiming to raise more than $5 billion to support global education efforts. We have more.
This comes at a time when charities have criticized the British government's decision to make significant aid cuts around the world. The British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said that they believe in their potential, in the power of education and unleash it, and in particular to promote 12 years of quality education, the bedrock of the foundation.
Potential and the power of education to unleash it. And in particular to promote 12 years of quality education, the bedrock, the foundation. So it's in that spirit that we're delighted and honoured to co-host this summit with Kenya.
The joint UK-Kenya fundraising summit is aiming to raise $5 billion over the next 5 years. World leaders will be asked to commit a fifth of their national budgets to education. Meanwhile, Britain announced that it would begin donating millions of coronavirus vaccine doses around the world, including Commonwealth countries, following its pledge to provide 100 million jabs globally by June 20.
We are here today because we believe in the power of education to transform our future.
Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said the rollout of an initial 9 million doses from Friday would go to Kenya, Jamaica and several Asian nations.
Gabon's Invido National Park was listed on Wednesday as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The site, which teems with life and beauty, is the second natural site to be listed in the Central African country, 90% of which is covered by forests and known for its efforts to preserve its natural heritage. The park covers nearly 300,000 hectares crossed by a network of picturesque blackwater rivers. It includes rapids and waterfalls bordered by intact rainforests, making it a landscape of great aesthetic value according to UNESCO. The park is home to a number of endemic species and some emblematic mammals now threatened, such as the forest elephant, gorilla, chimpanzee, leopard, and 3 species of pangolins. Some parts of the site are barely explored, according to UNESCO. For several years, Gabonese authorities have deployed a policy to protect the Central African rainforest, called the second lung of the earth after the Amazon. While the site is almost untouched, a UNESCO World Heritage designation ensures more legal protection as well as funding for its conservation, aside from increased popularity among visitors. Moving on, the International Criminal Court said on Thursday that it had dropped its arrest warrant for Ivory Coast's former First Lady, Simone Bagbo, who was charged with crimes against humanity, including murder and rape. Let's take a look. Since 2012, Simone Bagbo faced 4 counts of crimes against humanity, namely murder, rape, other inhuman acts of persecution that would have supposedly been committed during the post-election crisis of 2010-2011, following her husband Laurent Gbagbo's refusal to hand over power to then-elected Alassane Ouattara. Simone Bagbo was not handed over to the ICC, but an Ivorian court sentenced her to 20 years in prison in 2015 after she was charged with undermining state security. She was freed on August 8, 2018, following a presidential amnesty. President Ouattara and Laurent Gbagbo met on Tuesday for the first time in more than 10 years, after which Ouattara said that the turmoil was behind them. However, reconciliation was not on the cards for the Gbagbo couple. Laurent Gbagbo sought a divorce upon his return to Ivory Coast, citing the 72-year-old Simone's consistent refusal over the years to agree to an amicable separation. Behind bars for more than 5 years, the leader of Nigeria's Shiite minority, Ibrahim Zakzaki, and his wife, accused of murder, were released on Wednesday by the court of North Kaduna and regained freedom. Kachanchu reports.
Ibrahim Zakzaki, founder of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, was detained with his wife Zina Ibrahim since December 2015 after violence broke out during religious processions in northern Zaria. The army had fired, killing more than 350 people, mostly unarmed Shiites, according to human rights organizations. Sadou Gaba, one of his lawyers, told journalists after their release that the court acquitted Sheikh Ibrahim Zakzaki and his wife of all charges against them. Zakzaki and his wife were accused of killing a soldier during the protests. Senior prosecutor Zari Bayero confirmed that the couple had been released, but said he intended to appeal. The lawyer for the religious leader and his wife said they would certainly seek damages from the Kaduna state government for all the deprivation and suffering they have suffered. In late 2016, a federal court had ruled the detention of the religious leader illegal and ordered his release, but this decision had never been executed.
Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. In our business news today, President Kais Saied, who assumed all executive powers after suspending parliament Tunisia, has launched an anti-corruption offensive, calling to account for 160 businessmen accused of embezzling funds during the Ben Ali era.
3 days after suspending the activity of the parliament for a month and taking over the entire executive power, the head of state has blasted the bad economic choices made in recent years in Tunisia during a meeting on Wednesday evening with the president of the Employers Association. Mr. Said, who has not yet named the prime minister, attacked those who plunder public money. He recalled citing an old report of a commission of inquiry on corruption and embezzlement under the former regime of dictator Zain al-Abidine Ben Ali. Faced with continued inflation that undermines the purchasing power of Tunisians, Mr. Said also asked traders and wholesalers to lower prices. He also called for a revival of phosphate production, one of the few natural resources of the country. Former flagship of the Tunisian economy, the Gafsa Phosphate Company, has seen its production collapse since the 2011 revolution due to a lack of investment and repeated social unrest.
In our health news today, Zimbabwe has approved the U.S. Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use. It is the first vaccine produced by a Western country to be licensed in the country. Only vaccines from China, India and Russia have been approved so far in the Southern African country.
Zimbabwe's Drug Control Authority said in a letter to the government, cited by journalists, that the vaccine meets its quality, safety and efficacy requirements. The government had been criticized for refusing an African Union donation of 3 million doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It cited problems with storage of the product and possible side effects, despite rising cases of infection and a shortage of vaccine. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine doses require the same temperature as the Chinese Sinopharm and Sinovac vaccines. The United States and the European Union have imposed economic sanctions on Zimbabwean entities and individuals over the past decade for human rights violations.
In our sports news today, 3 Ugandan officials have been appointed for the 2021 CECAFA Kagame Cup in the Tanzanian coastal city of Dar es Salaam. FIFA referee William Ingenia Oloya, FIFA assistant referee Ronald Katunya, and retired FIFA referee Brian Milo Nsubuga, now assessor, will travel to Tanzania for the championship that will last for a fortnight. Kachanchu has more.
Oloya is among the center referees who will officiate at the championship that brings together clubs in East Africa and Central African region. Katenya is fresh from the CECAFA Under-23 Challenge Cup in Bahir Dar City, Ethiopia, and will just cross over to Tanzania. He replaces Issa Masembe, who had earlier landed the invite but pulled out due to unclosed circumstances. Retired referee Nsubuga, now a commissioner, will officiate at his first ever tournament beyond the boundaries of Uganda as an assessor. In total, there are 20 officials who will handle the matches for the fortnight, with 7 referees and assistant referees apiece, as well as 6 assessors. The hosts Tanzania have 2 clubs in the tournament, which are Azam and Young Africans, while Uganda also has 2 clubs, the defending champions KCCA and the newly crowned Uganda Premier League champions Express. Others are Burundi's Le Messager Ngozi, KMKM from Zanzibar, Al Tabara of South Sudan, and Guest Bullets from Malawi. Group A has Young Africans, Big Bullets, Express, and Al Tabara. The defending champions KCCA, Azam, KMKM, and Messager Ngozi complete Group B. The tournament will kick off on Sunday, 2nd July 2021 in Dar es Salaam City, Tanzania.
Now, before we end our news bulletin today, let's take a recap of our top stories. Speaker Olanya puts queries about his whereabouts to rest with grand return. Vice President Alupo hails Museveni for naming women in key cabinet positions. And in sports, 3 Ugandan officials appointed for 2021 as CECAFA Kagame Cup tourney. That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.
This is Africa, and that was the news.